You are now listening to PODCORN, episode 5, for May 1st, 2013.
Check. 1, 2. Oh, no. Your attention, please. Your attention, I need it. So I can sit you in a position from which I see it. Where I'm seated.
Hello, this is Amy Reeder and Brandon Montclair, and we're bringing you PODCORN.
That's right. Just back from C2E2 in Chicago.
Yes, really good convention. First time I've been there.
Yeah, first time I've been at C2E2 also. Was at Wizard Chicago a few times, but...
Oh, okay. I felt like I did well, so that's good. And I hear that a lot of artists do, so that's why I've always heard that I need to go to C2E2. I thought it was because it was a large convention, like it was going to be bigger than New York.
Yeah, it's certainly not on that level.
No,
not yet.
It's not that big, but I mean, that's not necessarily a bad thing.
Chicago Comic-Con used to always be this, and this was the one that was taken over by Wizard. It was always the second biggest show to San Diego for years and years, but a lot of that's changed. You know?
Mm-hmm.
There hasn't been any New York big Comic-Cons before. New York Comic-Con, which is run by the same people who do C2E2, right?
Yeah.
There's a few attempts once there'd be one kind of big show a year, but it wasn't anywhere near the scale of San Diego.
Yeah.
A lot of room to grow, C2E2, if it wants to.
Yeah. Oh man, that convention center, it's really, really giant. I mean, we only used a small space of that thing, and we had so much space. It's gigantic. So they do have, like, literally room to grow, whereas San Diego might not.
Yeah, San Diego is basically year by year trying to, reduce the number of people who can go. Yeah. Which is kind of, I think always a sad, like, how many people does it turn away every year? 100,000 people, probably. Not just in pre-sales, which sell out in an hour, for tickets, but just imagine everybody from Los Angeles to San Diego, right in the target demographic. And they hear about it on the news, the convention's going to, I'd like to go and check it out, new fans, kind of what comics should be about, but unless you plan 12 months in advance at least, no dice.
Yeah, but that's okay. There's plenty of other places to go. So yeah, we thought we'd talk about conventions on this episode. And just, in general, what we think of them and what their effects are and stuff like that. Like, my favorite thing probably is that, we get to interact with fans, right? I mean, that's something that you don't really get in a lot of other types of fandom, I think. I mean, you get it a little bit, but artists are so readily available at these conventions. We just sit at a table all day. We don't have, like, autograph sessions, most of us. We just sit there and we talk to people and draw them sketches. And, yeah, so it's kind of, I feel like comics, because of that, has such a democratic culture. I think it comes from that.
Is it different meeting your fans? Like, you are an artist. At Tokyo Pop's kind of a small fan base. Then you move on to Vertigo and DC, and you're drawing these comics, but you don't really know who's reading them. I guess, maybe you get a sense of it from online, but when you actually meet people, is it different?
I mean, I guess not anymore, because I've done it so many times that
right,
I kind of know what goes along with it.
When you first, started being a more popular artist and people coming up to you, did it change any of your perceptions of who it is that reads your books?
I guess. I was kind of, I mean, when I started out with Madame Xanadu, it did, because my fandom was very different from Fool's Gold. That's true. I was surprised, I had a lot more male friends or fans and stuff. So, which is good. Yeah, I don't know. It wasn't, the weird thing wasn't like who they were. It was just having people get that excited about what you do. Because honestly, compared to online, they're a lot more excited in real life, Like, a lot of people don't even say anything. So, or they'll just like something. But then you have them at your table, and it's really nice to hear from them. I like hearing from people who really liked Madame Xanadu, because that means they've been around for a while. Mm-hmm. And those guys, like, if they're still talking about Madame Xanadu, then they really loved it. So that's cool. I always have a few people come by and say, "Oh, I've been following you since your Tokyo Pop days," That's always really, really cool to me. I don't know. Like, one thing that I kind of tell people who, I guess, aren't really in, they don't know anything about comics, just people I know outside of comics, who ask me what it's like and stuff. Like, it's funny because you go to these conventions, like I don't see anybody usually. Like I live at home, or I mean I do live at home. I have no roommates, so I live alone and I work at home, and so I don't really interact with people very much. And sometimes you get like very, drawn into yourself. I start being a little weirder around people. Like if I have to go and grab some food or something, I get kind of more shy than I might normally be. And then you go to these conventions and it's the total opposite, like ultra, what's the word? I'm trying to think of, extrovert. It's like a
or
big,
outgoing.
yeah, but I felt like extrovert was better. It's like a huge extrovert, like binge going to conventions because, like, not only are you around a lot of people, but you got to be really gregarious. You got to make people feel good about themselves. And it feels a little bit like a wedding line where you're just sitting there getting compliments from people, but it can be a little tiring, but everybody is so nice that, yeah, I don't know. But the coolest thing of it is that I think it's kind of a self-esteem boost, and nobody really says that.
I don't think everybody thinks that,
Yeah, maybe they don't. Maybe I'm just different, but like...
I'm sure some people think it.
Yeah. I don't know, like, I've always been kind of a weird person. I've been picked on, or people think that I'm just a bunch of nonsense, when I was growing up and stuff. And ever since I got into comics and, like, I guess had something, like, legit that I'm able to do, then suddenly, like... when people like you for that, you just have this confidence and you can just be weird and not feel challenged by it. And you can not be traumatized from your school days because you've moved past it, and I think those conventions help.
Yeah. For you, because that's your life. I don't think that's... Yeah. Isn't that kind of a universal thing? I was so awkward at a certain age, but now
No, but I talk to most people and they're still hurt by their... being picked on when they're younger.
Oh, so you're saying you doesn't bother you anymore because
of what I do, and because I get people saying nice things about me all the time, and they want something that's specifically me.
Well, yeah. Well, it validates you on that level, but it validates you on a much plainer level too. I'm assuming that people respond to your work.
Yeah. Well, yeah.
Because as you said before, and this I know from when I was an editor, a lot of the times, you'd call somebody up and they'll tell you, "Oh, you're the only person I've talked to for the last 3 days because I've been on deadline working." A lot of people are in that situation where they work from home, and if they don't live with anybody else, they're completely shut in.
Yeah.
So it's like, so like I said, as an editor, you'd call them up, and that would be their human contact, which is obviously so minimal. And if you do a big convention or a small convention, even, it's just there's a rush of people.
Yeah, yeah. It's totally different. So. But
that's why you're doing it. That's why you're. Or am I wrong? Is that why you're sitting alone in your studio, drawing?
Oh,
pages?
To not have the distraction.
No, to connect with people.
Oh yeah, that's exactly why I do it.
So it's interesting what you're saying, because it's you're an artist because you want to tell a story. Which requires an audience. Some creators, they say, "Oh, well, I would do it anyway."
Mm-hmm.
And maybe you would, but I know you, Amy, are very conscious of the reader and connecting with them.
Yeah, that's why I do it, for sure.
Yeah, exactly.
I would still make, even if nobody read my comics, I would still want to make them.
Right.
So there's not that element.
But you do it in mind of not, I'm putting a story that's in my head on paper. For me, it's like, you definitely want there to be a reader. You say, I want someone to see this and understand it. More than you're telling yourself a story that other people happen to like. You definitely do it for the audience, for an audience, even if you don't know if that audience is.
The achievement is making something that somebody will see and they'll experience the same thing I'm experiencing in my head. To me, that's why I do it.
Right, and you have to wait for, one weekend every few months, I guess, to experience that in the flesh.
I don't know though. Like, I don't think I need that to know that I've succeeded.
No, and that's probably yeah. Well, it's not even to know that you succeeded, and I'm overplaying it because you see other people. You go online, you have professional peers who I'm sure you work with.
Mm-hmm.
But
yeah, I don't know. What are your thoughts on conventions? Like for you, what kind of experience is it? I know you've gone to them since you were really young.
I've been going to since I was a very little kid, and it was my entrance into the business, right? At I guess 7th grade, 12 years old, something like that. How old are you in 7th grade? Whatever it is.
I was 12.
12, yeah. I started actually selling comics at conventions.
Mm-hmm.
So, I would get a table and...
You're pretty young.
Yeah. I was definitely, I was definitely the youngest one in the room, I suppose.
Oh, yeah?
But these would have been,
how did they react to you? Did they just kind of like have these goofy smiles when they'd see you just running your own little...
Yeah, I mean, I didn't, it's weird. I mean, comics isn't, it's not like it's all people with graduate degrees selling stuff, but I was definitely just a kid selling stuff. And it wasn't like I had Detective Comics 27 and huge big ticket items, but I was there consistently and I made some money doing it. So I don't know. Maybe I guess I was the kid there, but these would be the Great Eastern conventions that were basically monthly in New York, and then some other, bigger shows would come into town. And like I did that from 12 to 19, and then 19 I bought into a comic book store. So my experience, I mean, I've done more shows than...
What do you think made you
anybody.
business-minded enough to do that? Like, I'm the opposite of business-minded, so to me that sounds nuts and,
Well, the thing about comic books is you could say, like, oh, I'm a fan of, I don't know, music, but, and I guess you could collect albums that you want to collect, you know what I mean, and whatnot, but you don't really think of it as... See, comic books goes hand in hand, especially back then, with collecting and trading and filling in gaps and stuff like that. So it was just kind of an extension of having a collection. Yeah. You know what I mean? Yeah. And that was it. And there's stuff to be had, and so it was fun. It was kind of like the fantasy. I think it's funny because I don't really collect too much anymore. I mean, I certainly read a ton of comics, and every once in a while I try to fill in a gap or find something that I read a long time ago, but I won't spend more than $2 or $3 for a book, you know what I mean? So it's like I don't have any big ticket items, but back then, it was fun. It's like you would books would have a certain value. Books it was a different market. Also, books would get hot. Like people would want something. Like, oh, do you have the Todd McFarlane issues of Spider-Man? And that would be new and exciting. And,
but you, as 12 years old, were walking around these conventions, and you had beforehand thought to yourself, I could do this. This isn't just
it just seems so cool, you know what I mean?
I just think that's funny. I think it's great that you thought out of the box like that and had that sort of confidence to just be like, I bet I could do this. This would be really awesome,
Yeah, I guess so.
Sometimes people literally think, oh, I've got this limitation, like I'm too young, or I don't see anybody there like me, so I won't do this.
Yeah. No, except I wasn't an overly confident kid. But, for comics it just worked. Oh, so I said, I've been through so many conventions. I used to joke with Fletcher Chu Fong at DC, who does the DC conventions. I've done more conventions than he has, But yeah, now I'm a creator, so it's completely different. You know? So or as a publisher, it was completely different. Where you go and you meet fans, in whatever capacity that is. Now as a writer, if somebody comes up and wants me to sign a copy of Halloween Eve because I'm sitting next to you, that's great to do. When I worked for Vertigo, it was just kind of being there to help, or DC. You have con staff, but the editors were there to kind of just help direct fans and kind of keep them occupied while they're meeting the writers and the artists and whatnot.
Yeah, that probably felt a little more like retail, so to speak, or something like that. You know what I mean?
Yeah, it was its own thing, but it was great. I mean, it's like you said, you go to meet fans, you go to take the temperature of readers, and there's so many different stuff. It's sitting next to you at a couple of conventions. It really is a different experience altogether because you have so many female fans.
Yeah. Well, actually, that was something I was going to say, is that one interesting thing about taking tabs on what the audience is you look around at conventions and it's pretty diverse,
It really
Females,
is.
different, different ethnicities. It's
it really is, and it's very passionate fans.
Yeah.
It's people who dress up, it's people who read everything, it's people who know more about the history of Batwoman than Amy Reeder knows. You know what I mean?
Oh, well, most people do, yeah.
Well, I mean, but the point, like I said, it's not, there was a controversy of having fake fans, you know what I mean? Like, oh, you're just, and it was
yeah.
directed at female
the girl
fans.
nerd.
Yeah, exactly. That you're just kind of doing it for attention, and it's so not true. It's unbelievable.
I know, it's so crazy. Like, I personally don't call myself a nerd, because I was so picked on when I was younger that to me a nerd is not a good thing, But like at the same time, I was at this women in comics panel, and the girl next to me, like, she's just getting into it artistically, and she was saying, like, apparently she's like the only person that the moderator knew who had since the New 52 started, she's been getting every single title, and she's been reading it since she was a kid, and yeah, that always surprises me, to be honest, because like I think my tastes are very picky, so like that kind of shocks me that a girl really does like all that stuff. To me, I think we need to make it something that a girl likes, but I don't know, maybe they already really love it, you know what I mean? And it's just me being different.
Yeah, well, like I said, you are a female creator, so do you attract more female creators? Probably. I mean, female fans, I should say.
Yeah, probably. Although I don't think it's like extreme in that way, But yeah, I definitely think I attract female fans.
And like I said, I've been to a lot of shows and I've seen a lot of things. I think they interact differently with you. I think I really think there is a connection. I think it means something, not even with your art, but just that you are who you are. You're somebody like them. And because I think, like you said, when you were a kid, you went to all these conventions. Why'd you do it, Brad? It's like you have a dream of being in the business. I think every fan, whether they want to be a creator, or they want to own a comic shop, or they want to, you know what I mean? It's like, you go to be a part of it. It's a culture that you want to be a part of.
Yeah, they all want to be involved. It's kind of cool.
Yeah. And so I think you are, and I think that bears out when we did Halloween Eve. I think we had a lot of female people who just kind of stop at a table at New York Comic Con, who are female fans or black fans, and kind of, stop and take a look, because, Halloween Eve had an African-American lead character and a female lead, obviously. You could talk about the politics all you want, but from a business point of view, it really is underserved, because there's such an enthusiasm for it. And it's like, who are the ones dressing up in costumes? Younger female fans, you know what I mean? Like, people complain about audiences being too male and too old. And it's, it's like, and then you can kind of shun the people who dress up and, make fun of them for being too much of a nerd, or not genuine and just doing it for attention, or all these crazy kind of, all these crazy, not accusations, but these opinions that come from people who should know better. Yeah. But don't.
Actually, that's another, I know I keep talking about this women in comics panel I was in, and I keep forgetting people's full names or whatever, but there is this one gal there who was a voice actor for Star Wars, Clone Wars, and now she's started this business called Her Universe, which is like female, like nerd merchandising, I guess, online.
Merchandising?
Merchandising, that's, hey.
Almost. Thought it might work.
It works to me. Okay. Yeah, so anyway, she was saying that there's a saying in the sci-fi world, because she's not much of a comics person yet, but she was saying in the sci-fi world that the fandom is about split 50-50, but actual like buying is 80% female. And that's actually a really good point, is that women like to buy things. So,
and extrapolating that into the world of conventions, when I worked at DC, and I've gone a couple times, not DC, excuse me, Vertigo, excuse me again, when I worked at Tokyo Pop, and I've gone a few times since Otakon, a big anime, I guess anime and manga, but it's mostly anime convention, in Baltimore. I went once working for Tokyo Pop, and I've been back a couple times since, just because it is so young and they spend so much money. 'Cause, like in the conventions, when I was a kid, people mainly went there to buy old comic books, Now they mainly go there to meet creators conventions, more or less. I mean, obviously there's always exceptions. But there's not a lot of money necessarily being spent in the room.
Not really.
Not
it's compared to anime.
I got to get I got to get a hotel, and I got to get a flight, and I got to, maybe I'll, get a couple of sketches and pay or whatever, and then I got to go out to dinner and blah blah blah. At Otakon, at these anime conventions, they would spend so much money on stuff. Whether that was artwork or toy, an action figure toy of what they liked, or T-shirts and stuff like that. It did so much money. So yeah, younger and female. I mean, I would agree with what the founder of Her Universe said, right? It really is people who love this stuff so much and want to support it by buying the merchandise.
They love to spend, yeah. So, yeah, it was a really interesting thing. But do you have some favorite conventions you like to go to? Do you have any shout-outs?
Well, you're the one who does. You are a guest of regularly at a bunch of conventions. Some coming up.
Yeah.
So you should go. I mean, me, New York Comic Con. That's the show, right?
Well, I gotta say, like, it's skewed towards me being a creator and having a table usually.
Sure.
I usually just go to places that I'm a guest at, and but yeah, there's certain ones that I really love. Like, in a couple weeks, maybe 3 weeks, I'm going to the Minnesota Spring Con, and I love those guys. Like, I know the two guys in charge. They're both named Mike, and their wives love me. And we go, whenever I go, I don't go every year because they like to keep things diverse, with their guest list. But whenever I go, we go to the Mall of America beforehand. But that place is really cool because it's one of those, like, conventions that's totally an artist alley convention. It's all about the artist, and it's very clear. And it's also just, like, very laid back. Everybody's, like, a very good person there. And I always attribute
Minnesota
that.
nice.
Yeah, like,
The convention, too.
Oh, the venue? Or what?
Minnesota nice is what they say about, like, the people, you know what I mean?
Oh, is it? Yeah, I've noticed that northern
Sometimes it
people
might be a
are
little
so
bit of a
nice.
dig, though. You know what I mean?
Oh, it is?
Well,
Oh.
like, it's genuine, but they're so nice it's a little bit weird.
Oh, no, they seem, like, super duper genuine, because actually, like, that really bothers me,
Right. No, I mean, I'm saying it is genuine, but it's so extreme that it's off-putting.
No, they're not like that. They're pretty, like, understated and stuff.
Yeah, but you're not from New York, so maybe it's...
Oh, yeah, I'm not from New York.
You're not as
Like, New
cynical.
Yorkers don't trust, like, compliments and stuff like that. But yeah, like, northern people are, like, just always nice. Every time I go to a northern convention, even in Chicago, I feel like they're pretty north, and they're very nice.
After Minnesota Spring Con, what's next on your list?
Denver Comic-Con.
Your hometown show.
Yeah, and they had their first one last year. There's actually 2 hometown shows right now because one is Comic Fest, and that's part of Starfest. And so they've been running for, I guess this is their fifth year. But they have to kind of work within the realm of Starfest. So recently there was an outcropping of Denver Comic Con from some of the people that ran Comic Fest. And they had their first year last summer, and it was pretty amazing. I don't know how they pulled off, like, they had really good press, they had a great guest list for a first convention. The venue was the best venue you can have, the Denver Convention Center. And
Denver's a city you can get to if you're not in Denver. You know what I mean? It's kind of a hub for if you want to.
Yeah.
Is it worth flying in for Denver Comic Con? I mean, there's a lot of guests.
I think it's going to be really good. Like, I think it's going to start really making way. Like, people are going to start hearing about it.
I know Matt Wagner's going to be there.
Yeah, Matt Wagner will be there.
Yeah, right.
Jamal Igle will be there. So there's a lot. If you want multiple signatures on your comic books, it's a good
On your
one to go to.
comic books, right?
Yeah. Let's see. I mean, I don't know. Fiona Staples is going to be there. I know that. Rebecca Isaacs. Let's see here. I don't know. Gail Simone was there last year. I don't know if she's going to be there this year. So they really, Stan Lee's going to be there. So, but yeah, it's like really impressive, and also the location is like the best place to be because it's a very pedestrian area in Denver, and it's all the high rises. Like Denver is very like the high rise pedestrian area is very compact, so you can experience it all right there. And
right, and yeah, what else is coming up? Amy and I will be doing the rescheduled.
Boston Comic Con. So it's such a bummer that
I was at Boston last year, which I think was their second year, and would have been their third, or this is their fourth.
Really, I didn't know that it was.
I'm not sure because Boston has had so many different people buy and sell the same conventions, but I think last year was the first or second one. Okay. I think. And it was great, wow. It had a huge guest list last year. Yeah, because everybody
was like, you have to go to Boston, you have to go to Boston.
And it was, it had the growing pains of a new convention for sure. which was I kind of liked the layout. I always said, because I've been going to conventions forever, and wouldn't it be great if there wasn't an artist's alley? If you could just be, hey, I'm next to some dude selling comics, but I'm the writer of, or Amy's the artist of whatever.
It's just mixed?
Yeah, where it's just all mixed up, and that's kind of what they did in Boston.
Oh, really?
And it was a complete disaster.
Oh, no?
Yeah, because it was like the lines wouldn't work right, and people didn't get stuff, and it didn't. I guess there's different flows of human traffic to both of those destinations.
Yeah.
But I'm sure, like I said, it was still a great show. I mean, it was a nice problem to have that it was kind of not too crowded, but that it was line control was an issue.
Sure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But after Baltimore.
Oh, but we should say when Boston is, because it got rescheduled.
Yeah,
right?
it's early August, first weekend in August.
Yeah, I think it's like the weekend of I think it's like August 4th, somewhere around there.
The first Saturday and Sunday in August.
So definitely, if you think you can make it, really try to make it, because it's like these guys, I mean, they rely on that one event.
Yeah, you invest.
Year.
So, I mean, you can only imagine, right? You invest so much, and then have it get canceled.
And obviously, they do such a good job. It's like you want to keep it alive. You want to keep
exactly.
it going.
So definitely support Boston.
Yeah.
Baltimore year after year is great. Home of the Harvey Awards now. Harvey Awards used to be at Mocha, a New York show. That was a couple of weeks ago.
Oh, really? I didn't know that.
But Baltimore is one of my favorite shows.
Yeah, so we're gonna make it down to Baltimore probably, and then of course New York Comic-Con.
New York Comic-Con.
I'm trying to think if there's any conventions else that I really want to give some love to. I mean, I like them all. WonderCon was
always a favorite of mine.
That was really nice. I mean, I was busy because I was a guest there, but they also treat their guests really well. I mean, I know it's like a big convention. So.
Sure, and it's the same people who put on the San Diego Comic-Con.
They give me like a free umbrella that works really well.
And then you lost it or it was stolen?
And
Something happened.
then it was stolen because apparently I can't put something out in my hallway or somebody will just steal it.
That's right. You were devastated.
I was, but I still have my WonderCon bag and I wear it with pride.
If anyone listening works for WonderCon, Amy could use an umbrella.
Yeah, I really liked it. It you just push a button and it would just open up, but it was
really?
Really.
I've never seen an umbrella that does that.
Well, no, I know, but usually when they do that, they're really like shaky and stuff. But this was super smooth and it withstood wind really well, which you need in New York, or it'll just break. Yeah. I don't know. So anyway, I love conventions. I've had pretty much just good experiences. I like going to the anime conventions, but. Yeah. But they don't like me as much there. I just go there to try and spread the word to anime fans who don't realize that there's some good stuff they could be reading.
Well, exactly. You expand the audience. Nothing better than a show to do that, right?
Yeah, so it's never like a moneymaker or a self-esteem boost. You basically have to really put yourself out there and go, no, really, I'm important. Yeah. It's really weird.
So if you listen to this podcast, if you're a fan of Amy's stuff or my stuff, come find us at a convention, right? And especially people who want to, whether they're writers or artists, want to break into the business. I've never seen Amy turn down, looking at someone's portfolio.
Yeah, I usually look at them even if it's really busy. I just realized there is one guy who actually listens to our podcast who I didn't get a chance to look at his portfolio, so I think I was a little busy then and we decided to do it later. Right. So sorry, Yusef.
Oh.
But, But I like to look at portfolio reviews, and I like to think that I have positive, not positive. I mean, it is positive, but good feedback, valuable things to say. Right. Because I have kind of a teaching mind, so.
And like I said, I have a lot of experience doing portfolio reviews.
Brandon knows his stuff.
Yeah. So as time, we obviously, if there's time, Amy and I will both do it. A lot of creators are the same way, so.
Yeah.
Definitely hit the shows and support the shows. It's becoming important, you know what I mean? It's really, it's great that comics is still small enough that you can interact as a fan with the creators, and even as creators, like Amy was saying, that you can kind of you can talk to the fans and see what they like and see what they're all about.
Sure, yeah.
All right. Sound good? So maybe see some of you guys at a show one day.
Yeah.
Maybe not.
Definitely. We don't bite. Thanks, guys, for listening.
Yeah, and where can they find all things Amy and Brandon?
At, on Twitter, it's at @bmontclair and at Amy Reader. We'll just stick with that. And then we've got at Chris Robinson, who is doing your editing.
Yes, Chris Robinson putting these podcasts together.
He's real good. He knows his stuff, so we really appreciate it.
He's a comer, as they say.
Cool.
Next time, guys.
Bye.
Yeah, I am back up on the airwaves, feeling like a soldier, and I ain't talking with the bears play flair. Look how I Fred stare down the staircase, it's finna be a hair raising tortoise versus hair race. So you should hang around here like some earrings. I know attention's all about